And he can pull it off, unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy.
I am not saying that Paddy deserves this more than Arman, but I'm just saying because he hasn't fought, because Ilya hasn't fought, and I suspect they want to get into a training camp. If they haven't even started one already, I suspect they're going to want to announce this, get rolling with the promotion. There's a lot of history there, and you have Arman sit in the front row, and you say he is next. Like, let's get some decorum here. Let's start figuring out who's next.
So what's really happening in the lightweight division right now? The UFC just dropped some major news and it's already causing absolute chaos. We're looking at Justin Gaethje going head-to-head with Paddy Pimblett for that interim lightweight title. And honestly, the MMA world has completely lost its mind over this matchup.
Paddy's not bad. He's very beatable. And Gaethje's very beatable as well. But when it goes into the passion and how upsetting Justin Gaethje has always been about not getting that real title shot, and they just keep dangling it right there again. Paddy's in for a new treat, right? Paddy's the one that's never fought for a belt. He's going in there. He's going to be trying to, get that stuff. He's going to feel a little bit more pressure. He's going to have that little bit of excitedness, in my opinion.
Tony Ferguson didn't hold back when he weighed in on this whole situation. According to Tony, Justin's been through absolute wars that Paddy couldn't even imagine. He's talking about how Justin's motivation comes from years of taking damage and learning lessons the hard way, while Paddy's still riding that wave of being undefeated and hungry. Tony's basically saying when that cage door closes, all of Paddy's excitement won't mean anything against Justin's battle-tested experience.
I mean, the fight not happening. It's Justin or Paddy now. Paddy got to get past Justin. Justin's a tough fight, bro. I don't know. A lot of people sleeping on Justin on the Paddy fight, which just makes me ridiculous.
There's this guy who's been pushing hard for Justin, saying everyone in MMA is walking around blind to what's actually happening. He's frustrated because people get caught up in all the hype around Paddy and forget to look at what Justin actually does when he steps in there. His argument is simple. Justin is surgical violence, and when things get serious, he becomes this unstoppable force that's way scarier than anyone gives him credit for. The problem is, Justin's been so consistently explosive for so long that people treat his incredible abilities like they're just normal.
I mean, I want him to win, this guy, I hate him. But I hope Justin Gaethje not gonna drink, party, gonna train, dedicate himself, be focused. It's his last chance in this life. He was fighting for the title maybe 5 times. So this is his chance and the end of his career. Win the interim title, fight for the real title, and then retire. That's the best for him.
But then Tsarukyan jumped into this conversation, and he's not happy about being left out. Arman's making it crystal clear that Justin deserves this shot because he's the only one who's actually beaten elite competition and earned every point on those rankings. He thinks Paddy has some serious holes in his game that everyone's ignoring because of all the excitement, and Justin's going to expose every single one of them with relentless pressure. Arman's not even worried about this being competitive. He expects Justin to dominate every single round and put on a violent, decisive performance.
Be able to take him down. Will he dance around the octagon? Yes, he will. Will he try and replicate the game plan of Max Holloway? Of course he will. Who wouldn't try and do that? You aren't going to stand and go toe-to-toe with Justin Gaethje because the man does have knockout power. But underestimate Paddy at your peril. That's all I'll say about that one, but that is a phenomenon.
Michael Bisping completely flipped the script on that narrative, warning everyone not to sleep on Paddy. Bisping sees something in Paddy's timing, his unpredictable movement, and how he keeps getting better that makes him dangerous for anyone, including Justin. He's saying people get fooled by flash over substance, but Paddy has real skills that could shock anyone expecting Justin to just walk through him. According to Bisping, writing off Paddy is a mistake because confidence and accurate striking can completely change a fight if Justin underestimates what he's dealing with.
And he can pull it off. Unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy.
that Paddy's readiness to take... Bisping also brought up something interesting about the pressure Justin's facing. This could be his final opportunity to get that belt, and that kind of desperation can mess with a fighter's head. He's worried Justin might lose his composure and start swinging wild too early instead of staying patient. That mental weight could become Justin's biggest enemy and give Paddy the opening he needs to steal rounds or create the chaos that completely changes everything.
Paddy Pimblett, I reckon Pimblett's going to win. He keeps at very good range. Very good range, keeps his distance a lot, doesn't get caught up in the pocket too much, throws in volume when he does throw a lot of the time with his 1-2, 1-2, and then a jump knee, and a lot of dynamic things that can get the better of Gaethje. Plus, he's going to mix in the takedowns, and Gaethje's getting up there in his career. He's just going through more and more wars, more and more scraps, a ton of time off. Pimblett coming into his prime, has been in shape for a while for this matchup as well.
Poor timing might actually work in Paddy's favor because Justin tends to leave himself open when he gets too aggressive.
Something really fascinating.
Sure. Justin Gaethje against Paddy Pimblett. Me against Islam. Once I pass him, I get the title, and you put me against Paddy.
You think Paddy's going to beat Justin Gaethje?
Easy.
That's a crazy thing to say because Justin Gaethje, animal.
Yeah, but he doesn't know how to grapple, and Paddy knows
But
that.
he's a Division I wrestler. He knows how to grapple. You don't think he knows how to grapple? He just chooses.
Even Poirier shocked people by backing Paddy in this fight. Dustin thinks Paddy's striking has developed enough to land serious shots when Justin starts pressing forward. He pointed out that Justin creates opportunities during those wild exchanges, and if Paddy stays disciplined, he has the accuracy to capitalize on those moments. Despite their history, Dustin admits Paddy matches up well in certain areas. Nobody would be shocked if Paddy had some early success.
I'm not saying that Paddy deserves this more than Armin, but I'm just saying because he hasn't fought, because Ilya hasn't fought, and I suspect they want to get into a training camp. If they haven't even started one already, I suspect they're going to want to announce this, get rolling with the promotion. There's a lot of history there, and you have Armin sit in the front row, and you say he is next. Like, let's get some decorum here. Let's start figuring out who's next.
All these predictions have created a massive controversy, though. The biggest issue isn't even about the fight itself. It's about Armin Tsarukyan getting completely shut out of title contention. Ariel Helwani has been leading the charge on this criticism. He's absolutely furious that the UFC chose storytelling and profit over actual competitive fairness by going with the Paddy and Ilya rivalry instead of merit-based matchmaking. Ariel argues that fans expect the #1 contender in an interim title fight, and that's clearly not what happened here.
Are you going to headline an interim title fight over that one? How are you going to put that beneath an interim title fight? And an interim title fight, once again, that does not feature the #1 contender.
He went further, saying rankings become completely meaningless if the top fighter gets skipped for marketing purposes. According to Ariel, the lightweight division is a mess, and fans deserve an actual explanation for this decision. He thinks the whole thing looks manipulated and has zero sporting logic behind it. Ariel's concerned the division gets destroyed whenever rankings get ignored, especially when title fights are involved.
Honestly, it should have been the co-main event, 5-round, #1 contender fight, Ilya versus Armin, second half of the year. What's the problem with that? And now what you just said, because he reiterated this in the Instagram Live, the winner of this fight is going to fight Ilya. What happens to Armin? Armin's going to have to fight who? What is going on? What does Armin Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at the belt now? I know he had the fight back in January. He got hurt. Sue the guy. He sat patiently. He went out there. He steamrolled right through Dan Hooker. He did exactly what he had to do. He did what Khamzat and Islam did not do. He finished his opponent on the ground in dominant, impressive fashion. And now what is he? Now he's just floating in the wind. And he's not even next, apparently.
Here's where it gets even messier. If it wasn't for Ilya's personal situation, the right fight would have been Ilya versus Armin, no question about it. Both guys earned their positions through legitimate wins, not popularity contests, and sidelining them means the division runs on hype instead of skill. Bringing in Paddy puts entertainment ahead of authenticity, and that bothers serious fans who follow this sport for competitive integrity.
So well that we go, man, the way he beat Chandler, we've never seen that before. But Ilya's a different beast. He's a savage. But so is Armin Tsarukyan. I believe that Armin versus Ilya is the fight, man. 100%. From the interactions they have, the way that you can tell that those guys don't like each other. Ilya said he slapped him the other day. Arman said he touched his face, and now he's saying he slapped him. It's easy to build a fight between these two because when you build a fight between these two, you feel like it's going to be very competitive.
Daniel Cormier completely agreed with Ariel's position, saying Ilya versus Armin should have been the only title fight that made sense. DC's worried the UFC damages the division's credibility when contenders who earned their spots get pushed aside for business reasons. He emphasized that merit should be everything in title matchmaking, or these belts start losing their value. At the end of the day, decisions like this hurt the entire division.
To fight, I think Paddy would have a good chance to keep it past a round or two because he's not going to engage, I think, as much as Oliveira did, and we all found out how Oliveira would do if that right hand left hook lands. But ultimately, I think Topuria, it's not as big of a mismatch as most people think, but it's definitely a mismatch, and that's just because we're talking Ilya Topuria.
Chandler jumped in with his own take, saying if Paddy somehow manages to win this fight, then Ilya would be facing the easiest possible opponent of his entire career. Chandler explained that the gap in size, athleticism, striking ability, and experience between Ilya and Paddy would be massive. Creating that kind of mismatch would barely look competitive. Plenty of analysts shared this perspective and called it a potential gift title defense for whoever holds the belt.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is by far the best performance of Arman Tsarukyan's career. We hadn't seen him since April of 2024. We were supposed to see him at the beginning of this year. It all fell apart. I don't know what happened. Back injury, bad weight cut, whatever the actual reason was, I don't know. What I do know is that guy who you just saw there at 155 pounds, and that means I'm excluding Islam from this conversation for the present moment. That is by far, Ilya Topuria's toughest test.
Chimed in afterwards.
Chandler also made another point that people need to stop thinking of Justin Gaethje as just some heavy-handed brawler. He argued that Arman Tsarukyan is the only real threat to Ilya Topuria's championship, and that the UFC is wasting everyone's time with meaningless fights. He highlighted Arman's wrestling foundation, pace, and composure to put Ilya in uncomfortable positions. Like he said, Gaethje versus Paddy gives you entertainment, but it doesn't answer the real title questions.
They tried.
They gave him easier because they know he's gonna lose to Ilya. Better like to do interim title and make something like a bigger than, because if he has no title, he's fighting for the title. He's not that big, but when he gonna be, I hope he's not gonna be a champion, but like UFC think he's gonna be a champion and he's gonna fight for the real belt with Ilya. That time he's gonna be superstar and they can sell more pay-per-views or whatever they do, and real fighters like me just watching and waiting our time, you know.
There's a business perspective to all this chaos. The organization wants eyeballs and compelling stories, and Paddy is a massive star who generates incredible buzz. Arman said he understands the logic even though he hates the decision. He knows the UFC will sacrifice ranking integrity for excitement, and this situation proves entertainment is winning.
Our Paddy Pimbeltt and to bring him to fight for the title with Topuria has a bigger name and make it like a big fight, like a kind of Khabib versus Conor, but they're not even if he got the belt.
That he was one of the few men in this division that wanted to fight you. I'm curious, how many options did you have for this card, and is it true? Is he one of the few that said yes to fighting you?
No, he's the only one who said yes from deserver fighters, and I supposed to fight with Gage as well. He said.
just levitated his way into an interim title shot, which is insane, but fair enough. As an Englishman, I'm all on board with this. But, you know, it is what it is. I think he'll beat Gaethje, but let it be known, Gaethje said, I'm not fighting ever again, and I'll retire if you don't give me a title shot. And bent the knee. They bent the knee to Justin Gaethje and just gave him what he wanted through him threatening to retire after beating Fiziev on short notice. Are you hearing what I'm saying?
Some people think the UFC wants to build Paddy and Ilya into a massive rivalry similar to Conor versus Khabib, and they're shaping the entire division around that narrative. They see huge money in that storyline and want to milk it for everything it's worth. Expect more matchmaking decisions to follow this pattern as entertainment starts overtaking ranking systems more obviously. Stay tuned for more rapid fight breakdowns, expert analysis, and comprehensive coverage.